It's one of the first places we think of when we think about a mysterious location. And honestly, if there was a location that gave itself over more to magic and myth, it would be hard to find it. Nestled in the Scottish Highlands, Loch Ness remains a tourist destination, not only for the rugged beauty that it's associated with, but also for the story of a monster. Even now, the Loch Ness Monster brings over £40 million into the Scottish economy. People come from all over the world to see the creature, or rather to hear about it. Pictures, rumors, stories, and whispers of the monster persist from tourists to qualified researchers, all of them hoping to prove or disprove the existence of the creature. But where did it come from? The earliest written account tells a strange story that hints that Nessie might be as fun a creature as we've envisioned. In the early days of Scotland, the land was inhabited by the native Picts. They were one of the few who managed to stand firm against the encroaching Roman Empire. Yet, while the Romans themselves could not conquer them, and finally gave up after creating what is now called Hadrian's Wall, there was another kind of Roman who was far more willing to risk their life in the area. St. Columba was a dedicated missionary, already having been an abbot in Ireland. He sought to build a new monastery in what is now Scotland, where the monks could go, pray, and when asked or spoken to by any curious locals, could spread the gospel. As they came to the River Ness, which flows out of the infamous loch, they found a small group of Picts who had gathered to bury a kinsman. The saint paused, asking what was wrong, and was told that the man was a clansman who had been killed by the fierce monster who lived in the river. It attacked anyone it could, dragging them into the depths where it could devour them. They had managed to spare their friend that particular fate, but they had not been able to save him. He had died there, and now the only thing they could do was bury him in their own tradition. St. Columba was a compassionate man, and one with a sense of justice, apparently. The thought of a monster preying on innocent people was apparently too much for him. He asked one of the men with him, a monk called Lugne, to aid him to lure out the creature by swimming across the river. The Picts warned him against it, claiming that such a thing was deadly, and would, if possible, kill anyone who came too close. But Columba, and apparently Lugne, took it as a challenge. There was no bargain, no set price that, should I save you from this monster, you will convert. It was an act that had to be done for the sake of the innocents that would be killed otherwise. Of course, this was a deadly job and one that could easily go wrong, but Lugne did so without question, springing into the water, and it seemed that he had only just touched it when the creature appeared. The creature might have been able to move on land, but it seemed that its primary home was in the water, and it moved with an astonishing speed towards the swimming monk. It looked like in seconds it would be on him, to drag him down to the bottom of the river, or to take him into the loch properly, where he would be eaten and nothing remained of him. Rather than flinch, the man kept going, and St. Columba also rushed forward. He rebuked the creature, invoking the power of God that it would never leave the lake or the river where it had resided, and it would never harm Lugne or any other human as long as its near eternal life would last. It would never, not even when the mountains crumbled, touch solid land again. The creature thrashed and fought, but before long it was forced back, cringing in front of the saint and unable to fight against whatever power he held. It fell back, moving finally from the river into the loch itself, and the monster has remained there ever since. Oh, it pops its head up to scare the occasional visitor or tourist, but its true nature, that of the ravaging monster who murdered hundreds, well, that's been taken away. The Picts, as to be expected, converted. Still, even as Scotland changed and the Picts vanished into history, the tales of the monster continued. Loch Ness was never without a whisper of a creature that lurked in the water, being sighted by humans, and then vanishing into the loch, over and over again. And yet, even now, the question remains, what are we looking at? It's easy to claim that the Loch Ness Monster is nothing more than an illusion, a myth to scare children or amuse the bored. Others claim that the monster is an old dinosaur, a relic of the past that has somehow managed to, through some tunnel or other that is close to the bottom of the lake, avoid the scanners and the radar of the 100 expeditions that have set forth to find the creature. Folklore has a more horrifying answer. According to legend, the creature that St. Columbia banished into the loch and that still haunts the lake is a kelpie, a fey creature that takes the form of a large horse, always dripping with water, but has been known to take the form of a beautiful woman, always luring people into the water to be devoured. Like most of them, the kelpie is not connected to any court or any particular group, yet it lives alone in its own malevolence. When it manages to lure someone using a specific type toxin or elixir to attach them to its skin, it drags them to the bottom and eats absolutely everything but the liver, which is allowed to float to the surface. And then the kelpie returns again to the top to continue on its hunt. Scotland, in reality, is filled with stories of kelpies. They haunt the lakes and the rivers, calling innocents to their deaths and then vanishing into nothing when they are being searched for, and avoiding even our most powerful modern devices that seek for them. Perhaps the creature that lives in the loch has no need to take any form to lure people in. After all, our fascination with the loch is so great we look for it regardless. Maybe it was the 1930s surgeon's photograph by Robin Wilson that, even when proven to be a hoax, has captured our imaginations and still remains the iconic photograph of Nessie. Perhaps it's so many others that followed, like the Dinsdale film, that despite modern technology still cannot even be disproven. Maybe it's the expeditions that brought back their own strange findings and pictures, and the constant eyewitness accounts of people who claim to have seen the creature. Maybe it's the simple fact that we look for stories about monsters, even as the story of the saint faded from our memories. Our memory of the creature that lurks in the depths, that's never completely forgotten. What's more, the Loch Ness monster might be remembered, but also we hold a memory that the Loch Ness monster is safe. Maybe that's the real reason the creature remains well known. After all, there are plenty of stories about sea monsters and deadly things in the water, even other stories of lake monsters. In the United States alone, there are several accounts of lake monsters ranging from Tahoe Tessie to creatures like Champ in Lake Champlain. Yet, while all these monsters are commercialized and met with a great deal of amusement, there's also a question of danger as well. Stories of attacks and questions of threat do remain. Nessie is unique like that, not just because of the age of her own story, but because Nessie, unlike a lot of lake monster stories, has no real fear associated with it. Nessie is sought after, she's pursued. The story is retold because somehow, even when the original story is mostly faded, we remember that Nessie is safe. Nessie is a caged monster that we can speculate on the existence of from a safe distance. We can run radar through. Because, in the end, figment, fairy monster, or remnant of an age-long past, Nessie poses no threat to us. Because there was never anything to fear to start with, or because of restriction long ago placed that it might never harm those who walk upon the shore. Of course, we know these stories to be mere legend, or perhaps a memory of something long ago seen on the shore and long ago dead. It is most likely to be just mere folklore that keeps children from going into the loch, as well as a way to strengthen the faith of those people who once lived here. We all like to think that, at least. Yet, even now, to this very day, tourists are warned to never swim in the loch. If you've enjoyed this work, please make sure to like, share, comment, or subscribe. Tell me what you like, what you don't like, or even what you would like to see me do in the future. And as always, thanks for listening.